I had a thing happen a couple of days ago, and it was very useful for me to kind of reflect on it. And I think the reflection or the lesson that I learned from it can be useful to other people. So I wanted to share it. And basically, a couple of days ago, I think last week, I posted some random Instagram story. Actually, I remembered. I posted a picture of me crying, and I said, quick reminder, man, to cry sometimes, or something. Not so important what it is about. But one of my friends replied to that story, to that Instagram story, and one of my good friends, and he said, you're not a man, you're a boy." And I remember when I read that, I got angry. I got triggered. I got very triggered, kind of, and I blamed the other person for it, because they were a friend, and I don't think I said anything to them, but I felt like, you can't say that. Like, you're a friend. Like, you're not supposed to, be mean, and that was mean, and so I blamed that friend, and I felt very bad, and I felt triggered, as I said, but then I realized that, and obviously it was also kind of vulnerable moment, because before that just something happened that made me cry. So it was, obviously it was also, I was also in a state where I was more susceptible to getting triggered, I guess. But yeah, this phrase of my friend telling me that I'm not a man and that I'm a boy triggered me a lot, and I blamed him. And then I realized that if he would have said anything else, but in the same kind of meaning, like if he would have said, you are not athletic, you have two left legs, or he would have said, let me get this straight, or he would have said, you're not intelligent, you're stupid, or he would have said, you're not funny, you are, an unhumorous person, or whatever, I would have not gotten triggered at all, zero. And the reason is because I am secure about these things. I know I'm athletic, I know I'm intelligent, I know I'm funny. So anyone telling me that I'm not funny, not intelligent, not athletic, I can just brush it off, because I'm like, you're full of shit. Like, that's not true. And I wouldn't have taken it personally, because I realize he's my friend and he's just bantering with me. He's just having a joke on me. He's just, being a bit sarcastic, ironic, trying to trigger me intentionally. And that's what, what friends do. That's what our friends do all the time. And most of the time we don't get mad because they don't hit something that we're insecure about. And so that's what I learned. It's not that he said anything wrong. It's not that he said anything that he shouldn't have said. It's not that he said something that wasn't nice and that he wasn't supposed to say because he's a friend of mine. It's because he said something that hit something that I am still insecure about myself. And so what I learned is that the things that trigger us are things that are our insecurities, are the things that we are secretly scared of being true. And so I realized that I am still very insecure about being a man and whether I am a man or fully a man. And that's what triggered me, because I'm insecure about this. I'm not insecure about, my intelligence, my humor, or, how athletic I am, for example. And I've worked on that, and I think there are multiple reasons for that. And until I met Anastasia, my girlfriend, 6 months ago, I always referred to myself as a kid. When I was in New York, I was the kid figuring life out, figuring shit out, and I never thought of myself as a man. And so I have a hard time still referring to myself as a man, and it made me think, what is a man to me? Like, what is a man? Because in most senses of the words, I hit the definition. If a man is anyone who is a male adult, then you're a man. And I am that. I mean, I'm male and I am over 18 years old. So by that definition, I'm a man. I don't think that's a good definition, because you can definitely be much older than that and be, you know, still a kid. And, you know, physical appearance. I mean, I don't have any beard growth, and that is an insecurity that I have, and that is, I think, contributing to that. You know, that I still have this kind of baby face. I mean, I am, you know, fucking around. I am very childish sometimes. I can be very childish sometimes. I'm very goofy. I'm very weird. I'm very, like, worryless in some sense. You know, I'm just living life kind of like playing around. And so that's why I always thought of myself as a kid, and I always thought it's a good thing, because I wanted to be that. And so in that sense, you know, I'm not a man. But I think it's more complex than that, because, like, you don't want to be just a man or just a kid. You want to incorporate both. And when I think about what a man is, I think it's responsibility. I think it's taking responsibility for yourself first and your life, and taking responsibility for other people. And I've definitely made a lot of progress on that. I actually tweeted something a couple of days ago saying that growing up means understanding in what areas to stop fucking around in. And so, like, you know, if you are in a committed relationship, like, it's suddenly not just about you anymore. It's about you and the other person. It's about the relationship. And so you make decisions differently. You don't make decisions only based on what you want and what feels good for you, but what is best for the relationship. And that means also, you know, taking responsibility and compromising and being accountable for your mistakes to another person that you care deeply about. And so in that sense, I've been taking on more responsibility in that sense, and I've been growing up through my relationship with Anastasia. Also, what I realized is that what also heavily, I think, contributed to kind of me thinking of myself as a kid and not a man was that, you know, I was 22 years old and never had sex and never had a girlfriend, you know, not necessarily two things that cause a lot of pride in a man. And obviously that has changed drastically since then, and I think that also contributed to me thinking of myself more as a man over time. But I don't want to just be a man. I even though I want to take on more responsibility for myself, you know, taking care of myself for my relationship with Anastasia, and then also, you know, taking responsibility as we build a family, or as I'm like, as more people are, you know, dependent on me and what I do. I think that will become very important, and I get a lot of meaning out of that. But I also want to keep fucking around in some areas that I think are still worth fucking around with. Like, I want to keep this kind of childish spirit to some degree. I want to be goofy and weird, and I want to not take myself too seriously, and I want to be able to just play around and be that kind of like worryless kid in some situations where you know, it doesn't have a negative consequence on like my responsibility that I'm going to take on. So yeah, I wanted to share this thought. One, kind of sharing my process of becoming a man and talking about something that I'm still insecure about, thinking of myself as a man, and kind of talking about the process. And as I said, for me, growing up and becoming a man means not physical appearance. It's not like having a beard or being strong and tall and all of these things. It's taking responsibility for your own life and for other people's lives, being accountable, And then the other lesson that I learned is, the things that trigger us are our own insecurities. It's the thing that we're scared of them being true. The things that we secretly believe might be true, but we don't want to admit it to ourselves because we haven't fully integrated that into ourselves. And it's hard to notice because, as I said, my first reaction when my friend said, you're not a man, you're a boy, was blaming it on him and saying, like, you don't say that, like, you shouldn't say that, like, that was mean, like, how do you say that, you're my friend, instead of saying, like, oh, interesting, I'm insecure about that, so it takes, like, an extra step of introspection to realize that. And I think that applies even more, or to the same extent to, other conversations, like if you're having a political discussion with someone and they're telling you that, Trump is intelligent, and it triggers you. And you notice that, oh my God, like that is creating a strong emotional reaction, and you're attacking that person. You're like, you're retarded, like you're stupid. How can you think that, Trump is intelligent? How can you say that? Like, you have no clue. If that triggers you, that means that, it's something that you're secretly scared of it being true. Because, if they would be saying like, Trump has black hair, obviously it's like a less loaded statement, but like you could just brush it off because you're like, no, he doesn't have black hair, you're full of shit, like what are you saying? It's not true. It wouldn't trigger you because it's not true. But if them saying, Trump is intelligent triggers you, like you're not fully confident in your own belief that he's not intelligent. You secretly are scared that there is some truth to the idea that Trump is intelligent. And so whenever you get triggered, it's actually not about the other person, but it's about you. And you being insecure. And so I think that's a very useful thing to know. So next time you get triggered, try to think how that is a reflection of yourself and your own insecurities. That's the video I wanted to make. Let me know what you think in the comment, and then see you in the next video. Peace out.
Hard to wake up when there's no alarm to wake you up. Sitting, breathing, doing all the things I hate a lot. But why now? Holy shit, I just wanna make a trip to the China.